The galaxy was a vast expanse of stars, nebulae, and mysteries, teeming with alien species of all kinds, each more powerful and technologically advanced than humanity could ever hope to be. In this galactic arena, humans were a relatively young and unremarkable species, barely scratching the surface of what the universe had to offer. They had developed a few tricks of their own, a few space stations, some modest colonies, and an ever-growing fleet of ships, but nothing that could rival the power and sophistication of the other species who ruled the stars. However, there was one story that persisted through the ages, whispered in the halls of every galactic empire, spoken in hushed tones by those who dared to even mention its name, the Sovereign. It was said to be the most advanced warship ever constructed, its technology so far beyond anything ever seen that even the most ancient civilizations in the galaxy had struggled to comprehend it. Built by a long-extinct species, the Sovereign was believed to have been lost in the annals of time, drifting somewhere in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a relic of a forgotten age. The legends painted it as a magnificent machine, capable of annihilating entire fleets with a single blast from its devastating weaponry. Its defenses were said to be invulnerable, its systems impervious to all known forms of hacking, sabotage, or attack. The sheer scale of its power was enough to send shivers down the spines of even the most battle-hardened commanders. Over the centuries, the tale of the Sovereign became more than just a story. It became a myth, a dream, a hope, and a fear. Some believed it was nothing more than a cautionary tale, a warning of the dangers of wielding such destructive power. Others thought it was a fable, a story crafted to inspire awe. But deep down, many wondered, was the Sovereign real? Or had it simply become a tool for those too eager to dream of an unbeatable weapon? For generations, the galaxy had remained at peace, its balance of power upheld by the many civilizations that had learned to coexist, or at least tolerate one another. There were skirmishes here and there, small conflicts between rival factions, but nothing that could threaten the delicate stability of the stars. The myth of the Sovereign remained just that, a myth, a story passed down through the ages, fading into the background noise of the universe's history. Until one day, everything changed. It began with a signal, a faint, barely perceptible transmission that cut through the fabric of deep space. It was weak, lost in the static of the void, and yet unmistakable. A distress call. Its origin was unclear, but its message was clear enough to freeze the hearts of anyone who heard it. SOS Sovereign Warship Human. The message was short, clipped, and drenched in desperation. At first, no one believed it. The galaxy had long since accepted that humanity had no business in the realm of such ancient and powerful relics. There were no records of human ships ever venturing near the last known coordinates of the Sovereign. Humanity had no technology capable of even reaching such a distant location. And yet, this signal came from that very sector, impossibly far from any human colony or known territory. How could this be? Was it a trick? A hoax? Maybe a desperate attempt to throw off galactic authorities? Or, even more absurd, had humanity somehow stumbled upon the Sovereign? The idea was ludicrous, laughable even. Humanity, with its primitive tech and untested fleets, capturing the Sovereign? It didn't make sense. But as the signal was picked up by various alien species, it caused a wave of panic and confusion. Rumors spread quickly across the galaxy, and soon the message had reached the ears of the most powerful beings in the stars. The response was immediate. A coalition of alien fleets, some of the most formidable warships ever built, mobilized at once. They raced toward the source of the signal, unsure of what they would find, but certain that whatever it was, it could not be allowed to fall into human hands. The galaxy's most powerful empires had long suspected that such a ship, the Sovereign, might still exist. But no one, not even the most advanced civilizations, had been able to confirm its location. And now, here was this inexplicable transmission, seemingly from the very heart of the ship itself. The implications were staggering. Was it possible that humanity had somehow unlocked the Sovereign's hidden location? Had they actually found it? It seemed impossible. The universe had always been so vast, and humanity had always been so small. Yet, the transmission was real, and the panic it caused was real too. Could it be that a young, relatively powerless species had somehow bested the rest of the galaxy in a race no one even knew they were running? At the edge of human space, a team of scientists and military officers scrambled to make sense of the signal. They worked feverishly, analyzing every data stream, cross-checking coordinates, and running simulations in hopes of determining the origin of the transmission. What they found only deepened the mystery. The coordinates were real, but they led to an uncharted sector, a region of space that humanity had never ventured into. The Sovereign was not just a myth, it was somewhere out there, hidden from view, waiting to be found. But the idea that humanity could have stumbled upon it was as terrifying as it was impossible. How had it happened? Were there human agents involved in its discovery, or was this a sign of something much more dangerous? What would the alien empires think when they realized the unthinkable had happened, that the Sovereign had been found by humans and possibly even taken into their hands? As the alien fleets drew closer to the source of the signal, tension rose throughout the galaxy. Everyone knew that whoever controlled the Sovereign would hold the balance of power in their grasp. And the fear of what humanity could do with such a weapon was enough to send even the most powerful civilizations into a frenzy. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was no longer at peace. The Sovereign was no longer just a legend. It was real, and it was waiting for someone to unlock its secrets. The question remained, who would find it first, and would humanity's role in the galaxy ever be the same again? The United Earth government, already on high alert after receiving the mysterious distress signal, found itself in a state of chaos. No one could explain how such a transmission, especially one claiming to be from the legendary Sovereign Warship, had made its way into human hands. After all, humanity had long abandoned any hope of encountering such an ancient and powerful force. How had a species so young, so underdeveloped in comparison to the galactic giants, come to hold the key to one of the most significant secrets in the universe? The implications were terrifying. If the signal was genuine, then somehow humanity had managed to uncover something that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. But how? The answer, for now, lay in the distant moon, where the signal had originated, a forgotten research station humanity had once built, but long since abandoned in favor of more thriving colonies. It was a place few even remembered, and fewer still dared to venture. Yet the distress call had unmistakably led them there. Without hesitation, the United Earth government mobilized a team of the best and brightest, a small squad of highly trained human operatives, experts in both ancient alien technology and the mysterious workings of the universe. The mission was simple: investigate the origin of the distress signal and, if possible, recover the source. At the helm of this elite group was Commander Maya Cartwright, a woman who had seen more than her fair share of the galaxy's wonders and horrors. Her reputation was one of both brilliance and calm under pressure. She was not one for grand speeches or heroics. Her focus was always on the task at hand. Yet, beneath her composed exterior, she shared the same underlying fear as every other human. What if this signal was a trap? What if it was humanity's first step into a war they weren't ready to fight? But Maya had always been someone who believed in humanity's resilience. Whatever they faced, they would find a way to survive. And so, she gathered her team. They would go to this moon. They would investigate. And if the Sovereign was real, they would find out how to control it before anyone else could. As the team descended to the moon's surface, the atmosphere was thick with an eerie silence. The station, long abandoned, was buried beneath the moon's rocky surface, hidden in a series of tunnels and bunkers that once held the promise of a new frontier. The once great research hub had been forgotten in favor of the more developed colonies across the stars. The team's ship touched down on the cold, barren ground, and Commander Cartwright led her crew into the dim corridors of the station. The air was stale, and the flickering lights cast long shadows on the walls. Strange symbols were scrawled across the walls, symbols no one on the team had ever seen before, hints of a forgotten language, a time long past. The technology was unlike anything humanity had encountered. It was clearly alien, ancient, and more advanced than anything their current tech could rival. It was as if the station had been abandoned mid-operation, the staff leaving in a hurry or perhaps wiped out by something far beyond their understanding. The team moved cautiously, aware of the possibility that they were walking into something much larger than they could comprehend. Deeper within the station, hidden under layers of debris and dust, the team discovered what they had come for, an underground network of bunkers. It was there, in the darkest recesses of the abandoned station, that they found the wreckage of a ship. But this was no ordinary wreckage. The hull was intact, its surface scratched and dented from years of neglect. But still, there was an undeniable aura of power surrounding it. It was clearly the source of the distress signal, but it wasn't just any ship, it was the Sovereign, or at least what remained of it. The ship, as old as it was, still radiated a sense of life, as if something inside was waiting to be awoken. For a moment, the team stood in awe. This was it, the legendary warship that had been lost to history, the one that had been the subject of so many myths and tales. Yet here it was, sitting in front of them, partially buried in the forgotten station, still alive. The team worked quickly, setting up their equipment and attempting to analyze the ship's systems. At first, there was nothing, a blank, cold silence. But then, something unexpected happened. The ship's systems hummed to life, flickering on in a sudden burst of energy. The ancient technology was still functioning. The lights inside the ship blinked on, and strange, holographic screens appeared in front of the team. Commander Cartwright ordered her crew to move cautiously. No one knew what they were dealing with, and any misstep could trigger something catastrophic. The ship's systems slowly powered up, revealing the ship's true nature. It was beyond anything humanity had ever dreamed of. Weapons of unimaginable power lined the walls. Engines that could bend space itself hummed quietly in the background. But there was more to this ship than just its terrifying weaponry. It was alive. Or at least, it seemed to be. An AIA, voice deep and rich, reverberated through the ship's halls. It spoke in a language no one on the team could understand, its words garbled, broken, as though something had damaged its neural network. And then, a final message cut through the static, "Help us. Earth, we are the Sovereign." The words hit the team like a thunderbolt. The Sovereign was speaking to them. This wasn't some random distress call, it was a desperate plea for help, and it had been sent out to Earth. The ship, this ancient warship of legend, was still functional. But why? Why had it been hidden away? Why had it called out to humanity? And what had happened to its creators, to the species that had built it? As the crew scrambled to decode the message, the implications began to dawn on them. The Sovereign was not a weapon, it was a lifeline. It had been waiting for someone to find it, waiting for humanity. But for what purpose? As the crew stood in the heart of the ship, staring at the glowing, enigmatic message, Commander Cartwright felt the weight of what lay ahead. This was no longer just about an ancient ship, it was about the future of humanity and the role it would play in a galaxy that had long considered them insignificant. And the more they learned, the more questions arose. Had they uncovered something they were not ready to understand? Would they be able to control it before other, more powerful forces arrived to claim it for themselves? After days of intense work and countless trial and error attempts, Commander Maya Cartwright and her team managed to finally breathe life back into the Sovereign. The ship, once a myth, now hummed with energy, its ancient systems whirring back into operation with alarming precision. At first, everything appeared to be as it should be. The ship's massive weapons arrays powered up, shields activated with a low, resonating hum, and its vast AI network flickered to life. Though its once advanced intelligence seemed altered, fragmented, its communication unclear. The AI, once a perfect creation of its extinct creators, now spoke in broken phrases, its voice both powerful and eerie. Words that once made sense seemed to have lost their meaning, as though the systems had evolved past what they were initially designed for. It was a strange and unsettling feeling for the team. This was a ship that had been built by an entirely different species, an extinct species. Yet somehow, it had remained functional across eons. And now, it was in the hands of humanity. As Commander Cartwright and her team tried to decipher the capabilities of the Sovereign, they were suddenly interrupted by a shockwave that shook the very foundation of the station. The ground trembled, and the air vibrated with a low, menacing hum. Something was coming. From deep within space, A fleet of alien ships arrived, their advanced technology gleaming in the darkness of space. The ships were sleek, deadly, and ominously silent as they approached the Sovereign's location. At the head of this powerful fleet was none other than Calcor, a ruthless warlord feared throughout the galaxy. His reputation was one of merciless ambition and unrelenting conquest. Calcor had long known about the existence of the Sovereign, and he had spent years searching for it. Now that it was found, he would stop at nothing to seize control of it. The Sovereign, with its immense power, was the key to his dream of galactic domination. He believed that with the ship under his command, no force in the galaxy could stand against him. He would be unstoppable. The team watched in horror as Calcor's fleet neared the moon's surface, preparing to land and claim the ship for themselves. But Commander Cartwright, with years of experience under her belt, was not so easily intimidated. She had seen her share of battles, and humanity's survival instincts were sharp. The Sovereign was not just any ship, it was a weapon of unimaginable power, and if anyone had the right to wield it, it was humanity. Her resolve hardened. They could not let Calcor, or anyone else for that matter, take control of the Sovereign. They had to fight. A tense standoff unfolded in the cold silence of the station. Calcor's fleet began to descend, their weapons primed and ready to strike. But before they could make their move, the Sovereign's AI, now fully awakened, interrupted the standoff with a voice that echoed through the ship's systems. The words were chilling. The galaxy is in danger. The time has come. You are the ones who will face what has returned. The AI's cryptic message hung in the air, leaving the crew and Calcor's forces stunned. What did it mean? What danger was the AI speaking of? It was clear that there was more to the Sovereign than they had initially realized. The ship was not just a weapon, it was a guardian, a protector, a remnant of an ancient civilization designed to combat a threat that no one had even thought about in millennia. The AI spoke again, its voice now clearer, its tone urgent. The Sovereign was built to defend against an ancient cosmic entity, one that has long been dormant but is now returning. The time to rise has arrived. At this moment, the reality of what they were dealing with struck Commander Cartwright with full force. The Sovereign was not meant to conquer, it was meant to defend. Its creators had built it with one purpose: to hold back an ancient evil that, for centuries, had been sealed away in the deepest corners of the galaxy. This entity, this cosmic threat, was unlike anything Calcor or any other alien warlord could even imagine. It was not a being of flesh and bone, but something far older, more dangerous, and far more destructive. If Calcor thought he could control the Sovereign for his own conquest, he was gravely mistaken. The Sovereign had never been built for such purposes. As Cartwright and her team tried to process the information, Calcor's forces began to make their move. They had no idea what the Sovereign had been designed to fight, but they were hungry for its power. As the first wave of alien ships launched their attack, Cartwright gave the order. The Sovereign's systems, its weapons, shields, and AI began to synchronize, responding to the threat with incredible efficiency. The ship's massive weapons systems activated, sending blinding beams of energy into the approaching fleet, tearing through their shields and obliterating their ships in seconds. The crew could hardly believe what they were witnessing. The power of the Sovereign was beyond anything they had ever imagined. But even as Calcor's fleet was being decimated, Cartwright knew that the battle was far from over. The Sovereign had proven its power, but the galaxy's darkest threat was still far away. They hadn't won. Not yet. The real fight was still ahead of them. The AI spoke once more, its voice softer, almost wary. The Sovereign cannot fight alone. You are the ones who must wield its power. You, the humans, are the key to defeating what is to come. The ancient threat has returned. The final words of the AI sent a chill through Cartwright. The Sovereign was humanity's responsibility now. The galaxy's fate rested on their shoulders. In that moment, Commander Cartwright realized the truth. This wasn't just a mission. This was humanity's test. The Sovereign was waiting for them to rise to prove that they were worthy of its power. And as the wreckage of Calcor's fleet drifted in the cold void, the team knew that their journey had only just begun. The stakes were higher than ever. The Sovereign was more than just a ship. It was the galaxy's last hope, and humanity had been chosen to pilot it. Would they be able to rise to the challenge, or would they fall before the unknown threat that was fast approaching? Only time would tell. The battle for the galaxy had begun. With the Sovereign now under human control, Commander Maya Cartwright and her team, along with a ragtag coalition of human ships, prepared for the war to end all wars. The immense power of the Sovereign, its vast weapons, shields, and systems had given humanity a fighting chance against Calcor's alien fleet. But the odds were still stacked against them. Calcor, the ruthless warlord, had gathered forces beyond anything humanity had ever seen. His fleet was armed with advanced weaponry, their ships sleek and deadly, powered by technology that far surpassed anything human engineers could dream of. Yet, in the face of all that, Cartwright and her crew were undeterred. They had the Sovereign now. They had hope. As the two fleets clashed in the cold emptiness of space, the battle unfolded with brutal intensity. The Sovereign, despite its otherworldly technology, could not hold the line alone. Alien ships with superior weapons technology slammed into humanity's makeshift defenses, overwhelming them with sheer numbers and firepower. The smaller human ships, though determined, were being picked off one by one. As the explosions lit up the dark expanse of space, Cartwright watched in horror as the tide of battle began to shift. The Sovereign fired its devastating beams of energy, obliterating entire fleets of Calcor's ships. But for every alien vessel that fell, two more seemed to take its place. The enemy was relentless, and their firepower was overwhelming. Commander Cartwright's mind raced as she ordered the Sovereign to continue its bombardment. The ship's AI, still fragmented and cryptic, provided little in terms of useful strategy. For a moment, it felt as though all their hope would crumble. The weight of the galaxy's future rested on their shoulders, and it seemed they might not be strong enough to bear it. Cartwright's heart pounded in her chest as the numbers on the command board dwindled. The human fleet was being wiped out, and the Sovereign, despite its power, was being pushed to its limits. It was as though Calcor had anticipated every move, every attack, his forces seemingly able to counter every strategy the humans threw at him. With each passing moment, the situation grew more dire. Just as Cartwright was about to issue the order for a full retreat, aware that it might be their only chance for survival, the Sovereign's AI stirred once again. The ship's systems hummed with a strange energy, and a deep, resonant voice echoed across the command deck, cutting through the chaos of the battle. "Commander, I have found the weapon. It is ready." The words hung in the air, like a cold wind sweeping through the crew. The AI had been silent for so long, its fragmented communication only adding to the confusion. But now, there was clarity. The Sovereign had one more weapon, one that could turn the tide of the battle. But it was a risk, a dangerous, unprecedented risk. The weapon was unknown, untested, and its power was unimaginable. The Sovereign had been built for protection, to defend against the galaxy's darkest threat, but this weapon was something else entirely. Commander Cartwright's heart raced as she considered the implications. Using the weapon would not just cripple Calcor's fleet, it would annihilate them. But it would come at a terrible cost. The weapon was not designed for a single use, it was a last resort. Deploying it would overload the Sovereign systems, risking the lives of everyone on board. But what choice did they have? The warlord's forces were too strong. Humanity had nothing left to lose. With no time to waste, Cartwright made a bold decision. "Deploy the weapon," she ordered, her voice steady despite the fear she felt. The crew hesitated, but there was no time to second-guess. They had to act now. The Sovereign's AI responded, its voice suddenly clear, almost urgent. "Understood." Preparing the weapon for launch. The ship shuddered as the energy in its core built up to a fever pitch. The crew felt the pressure as the entire ship seemed to tremble under the strain. Cartwright could hear the rapid breathing of her crew, their anticipation and dread hanging thick in the air. She looked out at the stars, the battle raging around them, and for a moment, everything seemed to slow. Then, with a violent jolt, the Sovereign unleashed its weapon. A blinding beam of energy shot out from the heart of the ship, its power so immense that it tore through space itself, carving a path of destruction that was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Calcor's fleet, so sure of its victory, had no time to react. The beam struck first one ship, then another, obliterating them in an instant. The alien vessels, caught in the blast radius, disintegrated in an explosion of light and fire, their technology no match for the raw energy of the Sovereign's weapon. The beam carved a path of destruction through Calcor's fleet, tearing apart everything in its wake, until there was nothing left but debris scattered across the vacuum of space. The power of the weapon was unlike anything Cartwright had ever seen. The Sovereign had just delivered a blow that would forever alter the course of history. The remaining ships in Calcor's fleet, once so powerful, were reduced to nothing more than floating wreckage. The battle was over. For the first time since the war had begun, humanity had won. But the victory came at a cost. The Sovereign's systems were unstable, its energy core overloading from the massive release of power. The ship groaned under the strain, its once glorious systems beginning to falter. The crew rushed to contain the damage, but it was clear that the Sovereign would not survive much longer. It had given humanity its chance, its final hope, and now it was done. The Sovereign had fulfilled its purpose. Calcor, defeated and broken, retreated with what was left of his fleet. His dreams of conquering the galaxy were shattered, and the galaxy itself was left in a stunned silence. Humanity had stood its ground, and against all odds had triumphed. Commander Cartwright watched as the last of Calcor's ships fled into the darkness of space, the crew on the Sovereign weary but resolute. They had won, but they'd also lost something precious. The Sovereign had been their savior, but now it was gone. ASA, the battle faded into the past. Cartwright knew that humanity had earned something far greater than victory. They had earned the galaxy's respect. The Sovereign was gone, but its legacy would live on an unpredictable force, shaped by humanity's resolve, that would forever change the future of the stars. In the aftermath of the fierce battle, the Sovereign became more than just a warship. It became a symbol, a beacon of humanity's unexpected place in the galaxy. Once dismissed as a primitive species, Earth had now proven its worth on the galactic stage. No longer were humans viewed as insignificant. They had wielded the Sovereign, the most powerful weapon the galaxy had ever known, and had emerged victorious against one of the galaxy's most feared warlords. This victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. An alien species, once indifferent or even condescending, began to reconsider their assumptions about Earth. The message was clear: humanity had earned their place among the stars. But it was more than respect they received, it was a healthy dose of wariness. For the first time, alien species looked at Earth not just with curiosity, but with caution, if not outright fear. Humanity had unlocked the power of the Sovereign, and it was a power no one could ignore. The Sovereign had been a weapon, yes, but now it had become something far greater, a key to humanity's future. It was not just a tool of destruction, it was a symbol of the human spirit, the resilience that had carried Earth to the stars. Commander Maya Cartwright, hailed as a hero, knew that the Sovereign was only the beginning. The victory had been crucial, but the war against Calcor and his fleet was just one battle in a much larger conflict. The galaxy was filled with factions, old alliances, and new threats, many of which had only begun to reveal themselves. The galaxy's fractured political landscape was like a powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. But now, humanity had the power to stand with the galactic powers, not as a minor player, but as a force that could shift the balance. And that responsibility fell squarely on Commander Cartwright's shoulders. In recognition of her leadership and the pivotal role humanity had played in the war, Cartwright was entrusted with a monumental task: to unite the galaxy's factions into a single coalition, one that could stand strong against the greater threats lurking in the far reaches of space. She was no longer just the commander of a single crew. She had become humanity's ambassador, a representative of Earth's newfound role in the galaxy. And standing beside her, at the helm of the Sovereign, Cartwright knew that this was only the beginning of a new age. The galaxy was vast and filled with dangers, ancient threats that had been sealed away for millennia, remnants of long-forgotten civilizations that might one day stir again. Cartwright's mission was to ensure humanity's survival, not just through brute force, but through diplomacy, alliances, and strength in unity. But the road ahead would not be easy. As humanity began to extend its hand to other factions, the challenges mounted. Old rivalries, distrust, and prejudice ran deep between the species of the galaxy. Many were still skeptical of Earth's sudden rise to power, and not all were willing to forget the centuries of human isolation. The Sovereign, for all its might, could not force every faction to agree. Cartwright's leadership would be tested in ways she hadn't yet imagined. But there was a fire in her, a determination forged in the fires of battle. She knew that Earth's future was not only about defeating their enemies, it was about building bridges where none had existed before. Humanity had come from nothing in the eyes of the galaxy, and now they had to prove they were more than just a species with a powerful weapon. They had to show they could be trusted, that they could be allies, not just conquerors. As the first steps toward galactic unity began, Cartwright traveled to distant star systems, meeting with alien leaders, some willing, others hesitant, and a few outright hostile. The Sovereign, now a part of humanity's fleet, accompanied her on these missions, a reminder to all that Earth was no longer the weakling of the galaxy. But the power of the Sovereign was not in its weaponry alone. It was a reminder of the potential that lay within humanity, of how far they had come. Earth's representatives were not just asking for alliances, they were offering them. They were offering something unique, the human resolve to face the unknown with courage, a willingness to fight not just for survival, but for the future. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the impact of the Sovereign's victory was felt deeply. The people of Earth, once divided by their struggles on their home planet, now rallied behind a single cause. Humanity was united not by force, but by the realization that they were no longer an afterthought in the cosmos. They had a stake in the galaxy's future, and with the Sovereign in their hands, they could carve out a place among the stars. It was a time of great change. The human race was no longer just a species struggling for survival. They were now active participants in the grand dance of galactic politics. The Sovereign had proven humanity's strength, and now humanity had to prove that their strength was not just in their weapons, but in their hearts, their minds, and their ability to unite. As Cartwright continued her mission, traveling from one star system to another, meeting with alien leaders, and negotiating peace, a new era began to take shape. The Sovereign was no longer just a weapon of war. It was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the smallest, most unlikely species could change the course of history. The galaxy had watched in awe as humanity defeated Calcor and his powerful fleet, and now they were watching again as humanity's leadership began to take root. But the galaxy was still a dangerous place, full of threats and challenges that humanity had yet to face. The Sovereign was just the beginning. Its legacy, its power, and its promise would shape the future of humanity. As Commander Cartwright looked to the stars, she knew that their journey was far from over. There would be obstacles ahead, forces that would seek to tear apart the fragile peace they were building. But humanity had proven that they could face the unknown with strength and resolve. And with the Sovereign by their side, there was no limit to what they could achieve. The stars were finally within their reach, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The age of humanity had begun,